Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Freshly Awoken podcast number 8, the new and improved. We've got a lot of special guests here with us today. Obviously me and Woke, but we'll get to us in a bit. I want to introduce some of the new people here today. We've got starting in the top left corner, Sintemuzz. Sinte, how you doing? Where you from?
I'm doing pretty right. I'm from Denmark, so I'm not Aussie, like, you know, the rest of the people.
Aussie.
Yeah.
Nice.
Very nice, very nice.
You stream, right?
I do stream, mainly stream just chatting Minecraft and stuff like that.
Nice.
Yeah.
You've got on the Minecraft train.
Yeah, dude, it's popping.
It is. It's going off.
Actually, no, I was saying new people, but literally Sinte's the only new one. The rest of you are all repeat offenders, right? Aha. Greavesy, how you doing, mate?
Hey, day. I'm alright, how are you?
Very good, very good. Erin, how you doing?
Doing good.
Good. And Erin, we've got like a little bit of a different logo there. Can you see the little different logo, guys? Erin, why is your logo different?
Ooh, we fancy.
Instagram.com/Erin Page C with 2 N's. And Licky, welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Woke, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing alright. I've been really sick. So if I mute myself every now and then because I need to like gutturally cough up my guts, then apologies. But I'm here, which is the main thing.
Nice. All right, don't worry. I finished the crazy ukulele trap music, so I can actually hear you properly all now. That was like, I was like a little bit panicked for that one.
You were so excited for that music as well.
I was really excited. It was kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie. I felt like a little radio presenter introducing everyone.
So intense.
Yeah.
What about you, Fresh? How are you?
Yeah, I'm great, mate. I'm good.
Oh,
Ready to talk about some feminism, which is the topic tonight. Should we intro? We'll just go straight in. First question. And we can kind of go one by one, I guess. What does feminism mean to you? And do you identify as a feminist? Why? Why not? I think we'll start with Licky because she did a little bit of Googling, a little bit of research on the topic.
Yeah, so I had no idea if I was a feminist or not, and it turns out I am, but I still have like some things that I don't wholly agree on. But I'm going to say yes. And what does it mean to me? I think it's about equality for women, but equal doesn't necessarily mean identical. So I think it just means that trying to, it's like different situations for women and men. Sorry, let me start again. Right.
That's right. Get that Google definition.
Because like I am a feminist. I figured that much out. And equal doesn't mean identical, as in saying women and men are equal doesn't mean one is saying that men and women have no differences. It simply means that differences should not translate to the different levels of access and benefits and opportunities in society.
Yep.
That's what I was trying to say.
Yep. Yeah, I get that. That's good.
Yeah.
Good way to put it.
Yeah.
But you after looking into it a little bit, you feel like, yeah, feminism on board?
To a degree, yes.
To a degree. Yeah,
Good
nice.
answer.
Awesome. I might jump in next. So I understand the fact that feminism, as a definition of what it is about equality amongst the genders. That it doesn't exclude men's rights, but I think that my take on feminism today is that it's been muddied. The water's been muddied, and there's too many different people saying that they're feminists and acting in ways that are not feminist in nature. And I think we've gone away from the core of what it was, which I think was a positive thing, and it's become something a little bit more negative. And I think it needs a rebrand.
Yeah.
That's my take at the moment.
Rebranding. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Let's throw it to Sinte. She's from Denmark, as we heard before, which are far more progressive than Australia. But what's your take,
So
Sinte?
much more progressive.
I think in general, I mean, I don't identify as a feminist whatsoever. I think the whole kind of feminist thing, you know, if you say like it has a really bad reputation because, you know, there's the whole kind of third wave feminism that kind of try to be superior than the other gender, which I don't stand for at all. the kind of original definition of feminism, I feel like it mostly focuses on women's rights being the same as men, where I identify as an egalitarian who believes, in equality between both genders, because there are a lot of issues that I don't think are being focused enough on. Like, as an example, like kind of men's position in family court and stuff like that, where they have a really like tough time, and we've seen case after case of this. So I think in a way that a lot of feminists like try to get this kind of superior role, which does not what's the word for it? Which is not what the original idea of feminism was at all. Well, that's basically why I choose not to identify with it, because I just think that with time it's just become such a bad word, really, in a way.
Yeah, fair.
Cool. What about you, Greavesy? What's your take on the whole situation?
Like on the fence. I don't really know if I am or not, because I like some aspects of it, but I hate other aspects of it. Like as we just mentioned, like I feel like there's a part of feminism that's like an attack on males, like for things like if I was to get attacked for not equal pay, for example, like I've had nothing to do with that ever. Like it's in the past. I understand it, but like there's a lot of attack on males where it shouldn't be.
Cool. And
but I respect the fact of that women do need equal rights and along those lines.
Oh yeah, 100%. And Erin, what about you? What's your take?
Yeah, so 100% I would call myself a feminist. Well, to me, feminism is it's just the equality of the genders, and I think because the name feminism, a lot of people are turned off because they think it relates only to women, but it's because in history, like women have you can't deny that they've been the gender that's been put aside. Like men have been that's all in history, but a lot of there's a lot of media about feminism that's just extreme that I don't agree with whatsoever. Like women placing themselves above men, which I think they should be equal. And yeah,
awesome. So I like from everybody there and everybody's kind of summaries and stuff like that. I feel like quite a lot of us can agree that there are definitely parts of feminism that we agree with, that are positive influences on the world, but there's also another an undercurrent of it. Oh wait, sorry, Fresh.
No, I mean, I'm pretty sure that everyone better. Hey, dude, just leave me out here, mate. Don't worry about me. I'm just the host, Don't worry about me.
Straight white male, just sit in your corner, mate.
Oh, it's begun. It's begun.
In your lane. Get in your lane.
All right.
Sorry. Did you have a take?
No, yeah.
Did you have a take that you wanted to share?
Just really quickly, I think I identify as a feminist, but it's kind of similar to I identify as a Christian. There's a lot of crazy feminists and Christians who ruin it for the rest of the people who are probably after the right thing, I think. That's all.
Yeah, fair enough. And a big one, especially that Erin mentioned, is the difference between what feminism was originally and how it actually gets portrayed in the media and in society. We see the loudest voices. We see the crazy ones. It's similar to the vegan movement. You don't necessarily get I have a lot of friends that are vegan. Some of them, they're just vegan. They're happy to just be vegan. And then some of them are really in your face about it. And it's a similar thing. Some people are feminists and they're happy to be feminists.
Some of them do podcasts about it even.
Yeah, and just want to force their opinion on the world. But I think that we see a lot of the crazies, a lot of the people that take it too far or have bent it to be some sort of power movement where to grasp at some sort of power. And instead of seeing the right side of feminism, where it's a group of people that want to advocate, is that the right word? Advocate for people that are mistreated or aren't represented enough or don't have the rights. Do you guys agree with that? Have you guys seen any examples of where you've had crazy people in the media that call themselves feminists but aren't?
Yeah, I definitely see a lot of like misunderstanding or jumping on bandwagons from people, where they'll use data probably improperly and take things to
Yeah, like a
extremes.
lot of people think it's a trend. Like they thought it was a phase, it was this trend. But I think it's been happening, like feminism come out like 177 years ago. It's not a trend. It's still it's very current. What I find funny with feminism though is that some women that, you know, we want equality and we want everybody to be treated the same, but if I don't agree with like everything that they say, suddenly I am beneath them. I am lesser to them because I'm not agreeing with 100% of what they say. So whereas, you know, I'm entitled to my rights as well, equality, but because I don't agree with them, therefore I'm flipped off.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a thing too. Kind of one of the big reasons. So one of the topics I wanted to get into, and one of the reasons I wanted to do a podcast on feminism was we had I don't know what the exact term was, but it was like equal pay day or something like that, or like gender pay gap day or something. Does anyone know anything more about that? It was like last week, and it was.
I saw like there was like quite a lot of news on it.
Yeah.
That's for sure. And there was like a couple of people. I know that I didn't really watch I don't really watch news on like free to air TV, but there was lots of like clips on YouTube that were getting quite a lot of traction around news guests going on shows talking about like the gender pay gap, talking about I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it was equal pay day or something?
Yeah, it was like equal pay day. It was about the gender pay gap,
right.
pretty much.
Yeah. So it was like, and there was just heaps of clips about it, which is good because it promotes the discussion. But the problem is that it doesn't necessarily. It's always the people that they have on are just always so easy to dislike. I don't know.
No, true, totally, yeah.
I don't know if you
on
ever
both
feel
sides.
like that. Yeah, but like so many of the videos I watched, it was always there's a specific like type of female guest that they have on when they're talking about like women's rights, and it's always someone that comes across as having like a severe gripe against men, and whenever with a really bad attitude, and you watch it, and all you come away thinking is, oh, like if that's what it's about, then I don't want any part of it.
They find the like super aggressive women that try to push it on you, and
100%.
They're really not likable. So yeah, you tune out to it.
No, that's was my experience of that day last week. Did you see any of that, Fresh?
Yeah, and I think it was very interesting. I could tell like which media sources were like more conservative or more progressive by who they got on, because it's like those conservative ones get on these really crazy people and portray them really badly. But so what do you guys think about the gender pay gap? It was said that Australia hasn't moved in its gender pay gap for many years. It's at 14%. In terms of like the nation average. What do you guys think? Because a lot of people say the gender pay gap doesn't exist.
Well,
I mean, you go, Woke, you go.
Well, I'm kind of in the boat of I don't think that the people that are saying that there's a gender pay gap haven't taken into account all the information that there is. So there was recently a video, so I put it down in the story section if any of you guys want to have a look, but it was a discussion in the Australian Parliament between Libby Lyons, who is a workplace gender equality agent, and a male senator, David. I can't say his last name, Lehon Yelm, or something like that. And basically the discussion was, he was concerned with the statistics that they were giving. So they'd released a report saying, hey, this is the gender pay gap. We've used the statistics that the government have got from censuses and other kind of things like that to generate these stats. And he was like, he pointed out a massive flaw in that what they were doing is so they annualize salaries. So they take all the women and all the men and they say, all right, so if a man is working a 40-hour week and this lady is working a 25-hour week, then to compare them, we need to have them working the same amount of hours. So they say, we're going to say instead of 25 hours, that lady has worked 50 hours and apply the like double the amount that she earned to equal like a yearly salary so that they can compare the salaries. Does that make sense?
Yeah, they just averaged it out.
Yeah, they've like averaged it out, all right? However, what they didn't take into account is that in the same reports that they're getting all these stats from and stuff like that, is that it says that men are like, I think it was like something like 70 or 80% more likely to have work longer than full-time hours. Whereas women are like, I can't remember the percentage stat, but it's like way more likely to be working part-time. So they were very happy to say, oh, well, this lady works like 25-hour week, so we're going to double it to 50 to get an annualized salary. But at no point did they find out, and at the moment, there's no way to find out exactly how many hours over 40 hours a week that some of these men work and bring their salary down to bring them to a level playing field as well in terms of annualized salaries. And so, and that's what this senator was pointing out. He was like, so I see that you brought these facts forward, and this is my problem with them. All right. And if you could do more research on this, I think it would be a really good thing. And he said something in there that was like, I find it kind of laughable that in this day and age, that you think that there would be any man when asked if you've got a lady standing next to you doing the exact same job, is it okay for her to be paid less than you? No one is going to say yes.
Mm.
And that was something that he like brought up, and he was like, so I don't know where you're getting these numbers from. Oh, like I know where you're getting these numbers from, but he was like, I want you to go back and do a little bit more research and find out if there's a way that you can get more accurate information. And that's something that I really believe when there's any talk about the pay gap, is that I think that they're using stats that don't capture the full picture of the situation.
So we're saying that they took they standardized all of them to 40 hours?
Yes. No, they did. However, there's no reporting done on the amount of extra hours that people do. So, and I know that there's women that work more hours than 40 as well, but the percentage, there was some census done, Australian census, where it was like, do you work more than or less than a standard work week of like 40 hours? And it was like something like men were like 70 or 80% more likely to do that.
Yeah.
Than women, and women were more likely to work less than 40 hours. And whereas they were taking female salaries and bumping them up to yearly wage to compare them with men's yearly wage, there was no way to get the hours that men work extra and bring their salary down.
Was this this must be the American one?
No, this is Australia.
Yeah, because the Australian one that I saw took into account only full-time people, so it didn't take into account the 20-hour week people. So
okay, I haven't seen that one, but the one so this was it was the Workplace Gender Equality Agency who was who organised a report for Australian Parliament, and they were talking about it with this senator, and they were saying that they had taken like salaries that were less than the working like 20-hour weeks and had doubled it so that they could get comparisons.
Leveled it out.
Yeah,
okay.
To me, there's like no point in comparing, say, like a female who, I don't know, works in like hospitality or retail and a part-time to some, like a male, for example, who works like 40-hour weeks and is like working in like a business, like in their head office. Like, there's no point in comparing. I think my problem, like, is when it's the exact same position this man and this woman are in. They have the same qualifications, they're doing the same job, and they're not being paid the same. That's where like the problem is, I think. But there's no point in comparing, like, someone who does 25 hours a week to someone who does 40 hours a week, because obviously they should be paid more. They're working more. But
yeah.
I also think it's like also I guess kind of, you also have to take into account like if they also pay them based on efficiency, like if it's a very, I guess like very physical job in a way, males are generally built a tad bit stronger than females, etc. So therefore they may on average get more work done, so therefore they may be paid more. I feel like there's so many things that are not being taken into consideration when they make these studies. And I'm in the boat of, I don't believe the gender wage gap or whatever, I don't think it exists. Like, I genuinely do not. I think statistically, men are also much more likely to, run businesses, etc. Like they just generally have higher paying jobs. And therefore, when you compare everyone, you compare a person who runs a business, whether it's a man or a woman, and then you compare that to maybe I don't know, a kindergarten teacher. Like, of course, they're not, like, even though they work the same hours, they're still not going to be paid the same. And, like, that's what they're doing in the kind of, and they look at it and they're like, okay, so women are not being, paid the exact same thing as men because men generally, as Woke said, like work a lot more, overtime, and generally higher paying jobs, etc. But if you have like two people, like two teachers working on the same day, same hours, etc., they're going to be paid the exact same thing, at least in the kind of Western society. Of course there are a lot of places where it's still not like that, and I believe that for feminists, etc., who want to fight for women's rights, of course there are more things to fight for, but I believe that that there are so many other places who have it so much worse than here. Because right now I see, like Denmark, etc., like I see people like are being treated, equally everywhere, kind of.
Denmark's a bit ahead
if
of
we're
us.
just talking like the Western, etc., like pay, like wage gaps, etc.
So
I think
myself, I worked as a laborer for 4 years. You wouldn't pick it. I'm tiny. I'm a girl. I'm short. I have no strength behind me, but I worked as a laborer for 4 years. They would not give me the job for about a year until I convinced them, like, I can do what them guys are doing. Just because I can't do it, because I'm not lifting with brute force, doesn't mean that I can't use my head and figure out how to, lift a board or pour the cement or anything just as fast, but in a different way. So I got the job and I ended up working there for 4 years, and I made my way up to second in charge, which was really, really cool. I never noticed the pay gap ever. I knew what everybody was. Well, I mean, it was a small crew, but I pretty much knew what everybody was getting paid, and it was equal. So even though we were all doing the same hours, exactly the same job, nobody was getting more than me just because I was a female.
Yeah.
I just had to figure it out a different way.
I think that's something that needs to be said quite often, and I know that you guys have all kind of mentioned it, is that every job is different. And I think when you're talking about a pay gap scenario, instead of giving an overarching view of the country, it's impossible to do it in an overarching way. You have to break it down to industry. You have to break it down to like an hourly wage kind of thing, and say and really focus on, here's like a group of female doing the exact same job as this group of males. They all have the same qualifications and everything. Compare those two groups and see if there's a gender pay gap, and I think that it's misleading for the people that were all over the media last week to present these things like they're facts, like, oh yeah, well, there's a gender pay gap of like 30 cents or whatever it was, or like 17 cents, I think I saw. And yeah, I just think it's like really misleading.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
Yeah.
I think like it didn't take into. I watched a YouTube clip on it because when I was looking this up, and it went into saying stuff about like different. So if a female goes for like a uni degree, they're likely to do a degree that in the end is a less paying job compared to a male. Another thing is like TAFE courses such as hairdressing is a lot more female based compared to a TAFE course in building where males are paid more, but females do building, of course, but like that is more male dominant course compared to females where not a lot of males would do hairdressing. And I don't think the stats would be able to comprehend that to put it into and anything to do with stats can be easily put in a way to get your own opinion across. So,
definitely. So then the question's got to be
involved. It's all like bullshit, pretty much.
So the question, because the stats, like a number doesn't really mean much in terms, like money's not a great way to, like pick who's equal and who's not. Like the gender pay gap might always be there, and that might not be a problem. But the question is why is why do you think girls are going into different jobs? And like, and I agree mostly, but I'm a little bit of the opinion that's a bit more nuanced than just everyone has an equal place to go. I feel like there's a lot of social pressures that go into it as well, in terms of because usually people explain it as girls will pick lower paying jobs, or girls will are less likely to ask for raises or are less assertive, which might be a biological thing, but I see a lot of times in society where if a girl's being like, if you see a guy who's being assertive and people are like, oh yes, what a good leader, you know, he's leading his troops and da da da. But if a girl does that, you're like, far out, what a bitch. Like that's kind of the, and if girls see that, then surely that's just a slight social pressure that makes it a little bit more nuanced than everyone gets to go where they go.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think, no, you go, sorry, Erin.
Oh, sorry. It's also like, I wouldn't say this like is for every like situation, but like oftentimes when like a couple has a baby, like a man and a woman, the woman takes care of it, like, and the man will go back to work after a shorter period of time compared to the woman, which means it's harder to get back into the workforce if you've had to leave a job, or if you've, you know, I think that's might be one of the reasons why sometimes women go into lower paying jobs than men.
Yeah.
But like, it's not for every case, but yeah.
Heaps of studies say that's definitely a job. Definitely a reason.
That's a good point with the way paying works, but like money gets spent. If I'm a business owner and I know this lady is coming into my job and she's looking to have a family in the next 2 to 3 years, I would not want to pay her the what is it, maternity leave?
The maternity
leave, yeah.
I would not want to have to pay that when I wouldn't have to. I would choose someone else that would not be having a baby, even if it's another female. But like, you get what I mean?
And that speaks to what the greater fight of like feminism originally was about, where it's like about equality for men and women. So if in that situation you had equal rights for men to have maternity or like paternity leave when their child was born, maybe they would be like the woman would still have women would still need recovery time because giving childbirth is quite strenuous, you know what I mean? And strenuous understatement, but
just a bit strenuous, guys, having a baby.
So they would need like medical recovery time, but then if there was equal rights for then the male or like the father or whatever to have a right to have time off as well to look after that child, and it was equal in that sense, which it's definitely not at this stage, in Australia at least. Then when business owners are considering employing a woman or a man, that wouldn't even be a factor. And at the moment, it still is. It still is a factor. And I don't. It's weird because like I don't necessarily blame a business owner for taking that stance, even though I in my head I'm like, okay, look, it's kind of sexist, for them to be treating a woman differently when there's a direct monetary link between hiring that woman and how much she's going to cost you if she takes has a child and needs maternity leave. I don't blame the business owner for that. I blame the laws behind it.
The policies that would lift those women out of there.
The unequal laws behind it that give women the right to have so much time off, but don't give men the right to have the same amount off when they have a child.
Well, in Denmark, it's a little bit different. We're starting to encourage men to like take as much time off, ask women and stuff like that to also like spend time with the child. So that's kind of going on. Like I've had teachers going on what we call it, paternity leave. I don't know. That were male, you know, to you know, stay at home, etc. I think what they're doing right now, though, with the whole kind of job thing is like, you know, they want more female engineers, they want more female, you know, in the kind of like tech jobs or whatever,
the STEM field,
because it's mainly, you know, male dominated. But to me, it's like, I don't think the reason to is why women are not like choosing to be engineers is because there are a lot of like males. Like I don't think so. I just think for women that they maybe just have like generally a different call for like other jobs that may not pay as much, but you know, you can't force people to you know, take and like just a specific education to get, you know, equal, you know, have the same amount of males and like women in the same workplace. Like you can't do that. And there was a thing, I read an article. I don't know if it actually was a thing, but I think it was in Sydney.
Yeah, I read about this.
Where
Yeah.
they tried to like lower the GPA or whatever that women needed to, you know, be able to study engineering at a university. And I'm like, that's even, you know, like that's sexist. The other thing is not. But you know, like believing that women are less capable than men, so you have to lower
The bar. Yeah, no.
the GPA for them to get in, like that's just incredibly stupid. And you know,
People
Yeah.
usually study careers as a passion. So if
Yeah,
they're
no,
not, if
100%.
women aren't going into engineering, they don't have a passion for it. They're going into something that's a less paying job, but they're going to love their job. They're going to turn out with a smile every day. They do it because that's what they choose to do, not because, you know, there's some women out there that do study for higher paying jobs, like literally just for the money, and they get in. If they want in that bad, they get in. You don't have to lower any
Yeah.
score rates just to get in.
So the story behind that was, I can't remember the university name, but basically they were petitioning the gender the discrimination board or something like that in New South Wales or something like that, to give them a pass, to be like to allow them to lower. I think it was from 90 to 70. I think it was, so as to allow the entrance score basically for women only. And everybody, there was like huge outcry about it. And everybody was like losing their minds, just going crazy, being like, no, of course not, because that is entirely sexist. Like Sinti said, like it's not only is it sexist discriminating against men and being like, well, you guys want to get in this course, huh? You have to be like way higher,
You have to work
get a
real
high score.
hard.
It's also
Yeah.
sexist against women, being like, well, the reason you guys weren't getting into this course was because you were too stupid. You know, like just unfathomable that they thought that was like a good idea. But yeah, there you go, Australia, everybody. Jeez.
Yeah, it was really interesting. Like I heard about, and I was like, where's the quality right here? You know, like I don't see it. So I don't think that, you know, I see also, you know, like ads on Facebook, like, oh, there's like some techie, you know, like computer stuff camp for girls, etc. And I'm like, what if people just do not want to take that education or work at that place or work with that? Like, what if their passion, like, they've got a passion for something else, you know? I feel like when we're like talking also equality in the workplace, etc., like, that's kind of not allowed. You know, there has to be the same amount of females and males in the workplace right now, and that's just never gonna happen.
Yeah, and not only in the workplace, but we were seeing like pushes for this kind of like, what's it like, forced equality, gender equality in the government as well, and everywhere. And I'm like, I'm just super against forcing the forcedness of it and quotas and stuff like that. Ugh, I hate it.
Like if you just like look at the what's it called? Is it the thing, the House or the Senate or something in the US, you know, in the with the Democrats, etc. It's mostly, you know, there's some males, you know, there's some females about the same amount. There's some, you know, African American, there's some Hispanics. Like it really, I feel like, of course everyone, you know, should be able, like that's their passion, etc. They should be able to do it. But I also feel like there's a lot of equality that's being forced. Also, you know, like in Hollywood, etc. Like if the person, you know, there's been a lot of criticism if it's like a, you know, a white man, a white woman, and you know, like a straight relationship and stuff like that in movies. Like everything like that is just kind of being criticized, or if it's a movie with, you know, male, like mainly men, etc. And I don't know, I'm like, I feel like that shouldn't matter, and you should just like look at the qualifications and not on the gender or their, you know, race, like their sexuality, like etc. It should be based on, are they qualified or not?
Yeah. I think that the only problem, sorry, Erin, I think that the only problem with looking at that is people say, well, we've been trying to do that and it doesn't seem to be working. So, or like there's still a gender pay gap, they say. So like, what can we do differently? Or they say, and they want to find a way that we can encourage women to maybe encourage them to try to get into these fields that are higher paying and stuff like that. I definitely agree that if they don't want to do it, they don't have to do it. But I think that everybody's looking at it going like, well, how can we encourage and encourage women into these fields, because they feel, or there's a lot of talk around the fact that maybe it stems from like a social conditioning that has happened for the last hundreds and hundreds of years, where it was like these were all male dominated jobs because there was rampant sexism and there was a bias against women in these workforces and getting into these fields. And how can we combat that social like preconditioning of women maybe to make them feel more comfortable in these fields? And I think that's I think it stems from a good place quite often, the rules and the way that they're trying to get these quotas and stuff like that. It all stems from a really good place, but I just don't think we've quite nailed it on the head of how to get there.
I feel like with
I definitely agree.
Sorry.
No, you go.
Okay, I feel like with my degree, the way I'm spoken to compared to my girlfriend who's doing the exact same course is a lot different in teaching. Because everyone I talk to, it's like, oh, you'll get a job easy because I'm a male. And like,
we've got the reverse in
I'm
teaching.
standing right next to my girlfriend, and she would, like, I don't know how I would react if I'm standing there, and I'm like, oh, great, yeah. It sound like it literally just sounds like, oh,
the quota one in. Sorry, go on. Yeah,
she's not going to get a job over you, and that would be crap to hear.
The quota one in teaching is, unless it's like an extreme case where like you like really sucked and she was like really good. It kind of makes sense because you want diverse role models for kids. But it's totally like that where if you're a guy, it's I would say a lot easier to get a job in the education industry. Sorry, Erin, what were you saying?
You had something to say?
Yeah, it's all good. So yeah, I 100% agree. Like with the encouraging, I don't think it's like you said, the engineering course like for women. I don't personally. Other people probably disagree, but I don't like think it's forcing women to do it. I think it's encouraging it, because like a lot of, you look at a lot of big businesses in the world, they're run by men, and like I don't doubt that they're hardworking and that they've earned their position there. But there's no doubt that there's a lot of like people, like big business people, have like this, feeling against women being like in high roles. Like that like does stem back to history. Like even myself, like I've had situations at work with past managers who have literally said to me, like, we had like, say, this trampoline to carry, right? And he said to me, can you go get one of the guys off the floor? I'll get them to do it. And I was like, all right, I see how it is. Like, it still happens. Like, it's nowhere near as bad as it used to be, but like,
should have just showed him your guns.
I
got this.
Yeah, I was like, I'm taking it to HR. Like, but yeah, like it pissed me off. But like, I think like strength wise, there's men who are stronger than women and women who are stronger than men. But like,
you would all be stronger than me.
What I found when I was a regular was the guys were just shaking their head. Like when I got in there, they all put wages on how long I would last.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
See, that's a social pressure in itself.
Yeah. They were like, there's no way that she's lasting. And there was days where I was like, this is not for me. But I'm like, it was decent money. It was a job at the time. And then I ended up figuring out a way to be able to get the job done. I didn't care what the guys thought. It was just trying to figure out how to get it done, get through the day, and turn up again tomorrow. And by the end of it, we ended up having like competitions who could do the job, like this certain job, the fastest. And at the end of every week, it was Friday payday. So at the end of every week, I was either $50 or $100 richer, because I was smarter and would use things around me, and they're using their muscles, and they just couldn't figure it out because I was so small, or I shouldn't be able to do that. And she tricked me, and I'm like, no, I didn't. I was just smart with how I done it. So
no, I didn't. Pay me my money.
Give me my money, bitch. Oh,
yes, because I don't think. I mean, I'm going to say I'm going to be extreme. I don't think there's any job that women are biologically incapable of doing. I think that a whole lot of it stems from heaps. Like we've only been, how long have women been in the workplace? Like 50 years ish. So it's not very long. Our grandparents are still in that era of probably they would have, if they were girls, they would have been like nurses or one of those girls jobs, But you have industries like computer science that was like 80% female dominated when it was first around, and then computers and everything are fairly heavily targeted at guys in terms of marketing, and now that field is like completely switched over the other way. Even gaming is like heavily, you can see it's not an industry, but it's still very male dominated, and I think a lot of it's got to do with the advertising, media, social pressures around everybody who's involved in those scenes.
Yeah. I also think there's a part of it, and kind of what you guys have been saying, is that like male mentality, you know, that kind of like, like I'll get a guy to help me do this heavy lifting, or she won't be as good as me, like, but I don't think that's necessarily. I don't think it's necessarily a sexist thing. I think that quite often it's a Actually, no, yeah, never mind.
Actually, no, it's a sexist thing.
No, it's just sexism.
It definitely is.
Just straight up.
I mean, I think for me, like, as an example, like, you know, when, you know, we're in class or whatever, and the teacher comes in, they're like, oh, there's some, you know, strong guys, you know, who can help me out.
Yeah.
Just like got some books or whatever. And being honest, I don't think about it as sexist. I'm like, yeah, you know, whatever. That's the kind of like stereotype or whatever that they were playing on. So who cares really? So of course, you know, like you have to, like, I guess, stand your ground or whatever. Like, if someone makes you feel incapable of doing something and you believe that you can, like, you know, you gotta insist on doing stuff instead of you getting something like someone else to do it. But in general, I don't know. I don't think of it in that way.
Yeah, that's a fair point. And like, I think that that a lot of people don't either. I think that a lot of people will just be like, oh yeah, like there's probably times where someone said that to Erin and she's just like passed it off as like, or like just not even thought about it and just gone along with it. But then there's also those times where you hear that and I'm sure as a woman you would go, oh, okay, well, I mean, I could have done it. Like, it's not that heavy, you know. Like, and I can imagine that feeling pretty rude.
Yeah, it was funny because the guy my manager mentioned is like the scrawniest kid in the planet. Like, and like,
wait, was it Greavesy?
It was probably me.
And like, it wasn't. I would have been fine if he had just said like, "Go grab some extra hands," but he said, "I'll go get like a man to do it," and that's what like put me in like, you know. I wouldn't have minded if he had said, "Just go grab Ryan to help." Like, you know, I wouldn't care. But yeah, it was when he actually like.
It was his wording.
Yeah, no, 100%.
So, like, yeah.
Well, not to move on, but I feel like we've come to like a fairly consensus on this pay gap issue. I want to and women in the workplace, but I noticed that Fresh mentioned something about gaming and how obviously our platform is dominated by men. I think Twitch. However, they don't necessarily perform the best. And wanted to talk a little bit about that and how you think that, especially in terms of like quite a lot of the women on Twitch and the ones that are like doing extremely well, being the ones that use their body to do it.
Titty streamers.
Yeah, titty streamers. Do you guys have a problem with women doing that, or are you completely comfortable with women using their body that they own?
I think personally, oh, you go, Licky.
No, you go. You're right. You're right.
I think personally, like, I don't care as long as you stay inside of the TOS or whatever, that, you know, you use your assets to, you know, get places. But currently, you know, the biggest female streamer is Pokimane. And, you know, of course, there's a whole, like, Pokethick or whatever, but, you know, she doesn't show anything, you know, like, she's just there, she's gaming, she's having a good time, etc. But I think there's a general conception where, you know, if a woman is successful on Twitch, it's because she's generally attractive. Like, that's at least how I feel.
I get told a lot, like, you know, wear a bra, boost the girls up. They'll help you get the followers, or they'll help you get the subs, or like if you just wear that little bit of makeup. Or a lot of the guys are like, well, if I was a girl, I'd be a titty streamer and make bank. And I'm like, my morals won't let me be a titty streamer. I don't have anything against them though. Like if they're all for that and it's getting like certain people's attention and they're donating, they're subscribing, and they're following, like I don't have a problem with it. I say go for gold. I just don't have it in me. But
Yeah.
I've got nothing against the women that do it. But like since I said, Pokimane is like, she's just famous for being cute, and like she is far from a titty streamer, and she is one of the biggest ones in the world at the moment. It's really good to see female gamers about, and I think Twitch, like she said, as long as they follow TOS, then I mean, go for it. Go for it.
She's the only girl in the top 10 of all the streamers.
Yeah, I really like Pokimane. I think she's like a ruthless businesswoman.
Yeah, anybody could watch her from children to adults, whereas
yeah, for sure,
some women that are just like, do not let your teenage boys in there at all.
Yeah,
like this is for like grown men, but at the same time they're not breaking any rules.
How's when they did that esports thing on her though, and then like everyone's like, I thought streamer rah 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 in the comments, and like dislike the YouTube video to like 1 billion, and it like no one else got that. I felt really sad. I was like, oh gee. I know at a point like some things become like a bit of a meme, and you like just dislike things because it's a meme.
Exactly what it was. Everyone.
It was still really sad.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, it was horrible though. Also on Twitch we had the breastfeeding saga. Fresh, you know.
Oh yeah, so
I did hear about.
Yeah, there was crap. I don't remember her name. I should really have written it down. It is within the Twitch TOS to breastfeed your child on Twitch. So this lady obviously did that, and then Twitch deleted the VOD, but didn't ban her because they said you're within the and then I think they apologized for deleting the VOD because they said you're within the TOS, you're allowed to, you're working, you're allowed to, people are allowed to breastfeed in public, it's within our TOS, so keep going with that. Heaps of people were in uproar about it. They were like, breast on stream. So what do you guys think? Breastfeeding on Twitch, yay or nay?
I think it comes down to their audience. To the fact that I've got no problem with it. It's a part, you walk down the street and you see it happening. I retract my first comment. There's nothing wrong with it. I don't care if they're young kids in there. They have to get used to that because they're going to see that walking down the street. It depends on how they're taught all about it. Like, it comes down to their parents and their teachers and stuff to teach them what is actually, like, why breastfeeding is important and take away the sexualization of it and look at
definitely.
it as like a motherhood thing.
Yeah.
Good take.
I think that it depends on how you're doing it. I remember watching a video and on like the subject, and it was like breaking it down kind of thing. And from what you could see of what she was doing in the video, she wasn't overtly trying to like sexualize it at all. It was literally her kid was hungry and it was feeding time, and so she fed. You couldn't even see that much of her boob, like because she's obviously got a kid there, who's like feeding. And so like it would be different if like she was trying to, I think, maybe exploit doing that for money, or like if she was like directly saying like, hey, give me money and I'll get my tits out, like,
11 o'clock
like
every day is breastfeeding
11
time.
o'clock breastfeeding time. Wink wink, donate big. But she wasn't. She was literally just feeding her kid, and I have no problem with that.
I don't, like, to me, like, I don't care about breastfeeding, like, in public, etc. But I'm also kind of like, I just feel like in general, like, it's weird to, like, have your, like, little, like, kid who's, like, so little that he still needs to be breastfed, like, also, like, on camera
on Twitch,
as well, in a way.
Yeah.
Like, if, I don't know, like, it's within the TOS, so, it is okay, etc. to do on Twitch. But personally, I'd probably be like, yeah, be right back, and, then come back, because, I don't assume that it's, like, a long progress. I have no idea.
Apparently it is a long process.
Yeah, I don't think that she should have done it. My reasoning for this is kind of like, if they're in public and stuff like that and the baby needs to be fed, by all means feed it. But there is, there's children in the stream that are going to take it a different way. What I read was that she'd done it to try to normalize breastfeeding on Twitch. She'd made the conscious decision to purposely breastfeed on screen. If she did it just willy-nilly without even thinking about it, and it was like, you know, oh, my baby's hungry, grabs the baby and away she goes, I don't think I would have such a huge deal, like a problem with it. But she had made a comment that she purposely done it to see how people would react to try to normalize breastfeeding on Twitch.
Like
and
it
I
was a
think
protest.
yeah, and I think that that's great that like all of her audience and stuff didn't bat an eyelid on it. It didn't bother anybody. It probably wouldn't bother me either, but I'm like, well, you have your baby on camera to start with. You're gaming or you're chatting or you're doing whatever. Like it's really easy to like hide your screen for a minute and keep the mic open, or you know, turn it off and be like, I'll be right back. I think a baby takes like 15 minutes to feed or burp, or I don't know, half an hour, even whatever the time is. I think that her making that decision to purposely do it on stream just to see what would happen, I don't agree with that.
So just to like go down a little bit more the path of, I guess, selling your bodies, do you guys agree with a woman's right to do that, or do you disagree?
I think
Sell her body.
like
Yeah, so and I mean this goes to men as well. So like I'm talking obviously titty streamers, okay? They're like what they're doing there is they're selling their bodies, all right? They're not doing it in like a physical sense. It's just viewing, but it's the start of that kind of, it's the lowest form of a way to do it, basically. The most PG way to actually sell your body. So do you guys agree with a woman's right to be able to do that, or a man's right to be able to do that, or do you think that that should be illegal in the case of like prostitution and stuff like that?
Well, I think like bodies have been sold for like outside of Twitch for ages, like, you know, like through advertising and things like that. And I think it's a personal decision, like whether or not you want to. Like I personally wouldn't, it's just me. Like it's not my style. But like, you know, I don't and it goes for men as well. Like if that's how you want to approach like what you do, then do it. Like, and for people who say like, you know, your audience is young, like it's not your fault that, you know, I think that parents should be like watching their kids and what they consume online, because there's so much that, you know, that goes on. But
I think if they want to and they know that they're going to benefit out of it and they're comfortable with doing that, and it doesn't, you know, if their morals, if they're comfortable, like when I do photo shoots and stuff, people will be like, oh, can you take your bra off, or can you go nude, or something like that. If my dad can't look at them photos and be like, I really like them, I ain't doing it. And I don't know if that's like my morals just kicking in, going, you know, that's like my line. So I think if they're comfortable and their morals just go, yeah, it's fine, I think women should be able to do it. Really, I think it's okay.
I think we kind of just blurred those two subjects together. I feel like we should make distinctions between, because I feel like we should be promoting the normalization of breastfeeding and not the sexualization of breastfeeding.
Yeah.
Okay, because it sounded like you were saying that she's selling her body.
No. Sorry. So breastfeeding, I think we all kind of agreed there that that breastfeeding is a normal thing as part of everyday life, but that there's a way that she could have probably done it better that was less intrusive, I guess.
Maybe. Yeah. The only thing, so I mostly agree, and especially what Sinte said about having a kid on stream. I didn't ever think about that, but that's totally a good point. But I do have a problem with like putting all the agency on a girl who is just feeding her baby. Like she's doing her job. I feel like if you put up a be right back screen, you always are going to lose viewers. So it feels like maybe that's not a good expectation to place on her. If she's just doing her job and like people are allowed to breastfeed in the workplace, the agency should be on the people to not find that sexual. So like if I'm walking down the street and I've got a kid with me and they see someone breastfeeding, I wouldn't expect the kid to be like, oh yeah, that's so hot. Like, or I'd try and educate them to be like, that's not actually the way we do this, kind of thing. Whereas, and then like the girls using their body sexually. Yeah, that's a different topic, I think.
Yeah. What are your views on that?
I think I do want Twitch to be a place that, well, I think for Twitch's own sake, they want advertisers, so they don't want to become like a strange cesspool of like overly sexual content. So they've got these TOS, which they don't seem to be very good at keeping track of anyway. But I know they have to have them to an extent, and I hope that it wouldn't ever go too far that we would, you know, you wouldn't want to tell someone you stream on Twitch and they're like, oh yeah, that porn site, ha, nice. You'd want it to always be an alternative to that. And people always make the argument, they're like, yeah, but kids can just go like find porn anywhere. But that's not what I think we want Twitch to become.
No, yeah, 100%. And I wasn't, I to be honest, I'd kind of like moved on from thinking about it in terms of breastfeeding there. And I'm not necessarily just talking about Twitch now either. What about prostitution and women being able to sell their body for profit? Do you disagree with that, or do you think that there's a place for that in society, or are you? I'm more of the opinion that it's a female's body and she can do whatever she wants with it.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of like, you know, your body, your choice, etc. Like in Denmark, it like prostitution is legal. I don't know about Australia. But you know, like I feel like in general, like as long as you don't break the law or the TOS or whatever, to me, you can really do whatever you want to do. What Twitch has been doing though is they're kind of not enforcing their TOS a lot of the time. Like, you know, we've seen nip slips that have been maybe like a minute, etc., and nothing happened. There's been a vagina slip. There has been a, you know, there's been so many things recently where I'm like, why are you kind of like protecting like these women that do these things just because you want them on your platform, but when it comes to everybody else, you know, you treat them differently. That's like the kind of part that I don't understand, because I don't care if, you know, like your tits are out, your ass is out, you're squatting, like I don't care. The people who want to watch that, sure thing, you know, make sure to make it, you know, 18 plus, etc. But it's when you break the literal TOS and nothing happens, that's the kind of thing I've been having an issue with lately.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think they need to do a lot better at being more consistent. And it's so frustrating because when you're consistent, everybody knows the rules, you know, you should be able to treat the terms of service as like the law, you know, where you go like, okay, if I go beyond this point, like I am breaking the terms of service and this will happen to me. I will get banned. This will happen. But it seems to be that for some people there's one set of rules and for everybody else there's another set of rules. And then for like one or two people, there's no punishment at all. And it just becomes super frustrating and it makes everybody not know where the line is. And so then people like start pushing the boundaries a little bit and get banned or don't get banned, and they're like, well, like what? I thought this was okay because of these 10 examples of where you didn't ban the person for doing it.
Yeah,
you know. Yeah. And it just creates blurry lines.
So back to Woke's question about prostitution and selling your body. I actually used to work answering the phones for an escort service. I only answered the phones. But the women in there that I had interactions with and stuff like that, you know, they were smart women. Some of them were studying. Some of them were in high-paying jobs. Some of them did it as like a break from life or extra money for a lavish holiday. Like, I think that it's their body and they made the choice to sell it. And I think that them trying to explain that to friends or family and stuff like that would probably be harder than strangers accepting what they do or not. Like, so many of the girls were called sluts and, oh, you're a disgrace and I can't believe you do this. But really, I mean, their opinions don't really count. It's up to how they feel about doing it and, you know, if they ever have to explain it to their kids, their friends or their family.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember there was like a thing where it was between a, like probably a woman, working a 9 to 5 job or whatever, and a prostitute, and they were like having a discussion, and the person assuming, she was maybe had some, kind of feminist views, etc. She was like, no, like that's not okay for women to do because they're selling their body and etc. Whereas, the prostitute was like this is my choice, etc. And I think in general the word like slut, like the general definition of it is like having, a lot of like casual sexual partners. And I still don't know why that word is still being used, because that's, perfectly okay. It's like the whole kind of thing, like if you're a guy who has been with a lot of girls, whatever, you're like, yeah, you're a champ, etc. If you're a girl who has been with a lot of guys, you're like, oh, like what
think you're
what a
degraded.
slut, she's so
Mm.
cheap, etc. And that's like still the kind of stereotype there is, and I definitely believe that is wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Mm.
agree.
Yeah, it's funny because like I don't know, slut has become, it's like definitely changed a little bit recently. I feel because of that like kind of thing where it's becoming more accepted for, I mean, yeah, more accepted in society for women to be like sleeping around and sleeping with multiple sexual partners and whatnot like that. It's becoming more accepted. Therefore, that slut word has become a little bit less acceptable to use. But I've noticed it being used in like a joking way a lot more. So like now, instead of it being like genuine, where people are like, "Oh, you're a slut," I hear people using it just to like poke fun at someone, even but like in a friendly way.
Yeah.
A lot more than it used to be. It used to be like you said that, and people would be like, "Oh,
Mm.
damn," But these days it's like said, and everybody's like, "Ha ha ha, we're just having a good time here."
Mm.
Yeah,
I guess
it's
the
funny.
issue is like, and they've done quite a few studies about like, and they ask how many sexual partners you've had, and the men are on average almost definitely going to lie and increase the number, and the females on average are going to lie and decrease the number. That's not the kind of equal society I think that
I
you'd want.
think the general definition of slut is, like that's acceptable, that's whatever, but I still think the word still holds so much, like it's still it's still like an insult to be called that, which it shouldn't be, but it's still being used that way, and therefore it's, I don't know, like personally I wouldn't want to be called that, like of course in a joking way I can be like, yeah, whatever, but I still feel like it's such an aggressive word to use against someone.
Yep.
I
And I
always
think,
Get called a slut all the time, and I tried really hard for people to like not say it to me, and it had such an impact on me. Like I was like, these people think I'm a slut, even though I had never had sex. I had never had a boyfriend till I was 26 years old. For both, I was branded a slut, and what it had like done to me inside, I was like, oh my gosh, like everybody thinks that I'm a slut. If I be a little Miss Prim and Proper, everybody's going to see that. It didn't matter. It didn't matter that I didn't have a boyfriend. It didn't matter that I hadn't had sex or anything like that. It was a degrading word, and
yeah, it is.
they just wanted to throw it around. But the impact that it had on me as a woman was a lot more than just oh, you're a slut. So
Yeah.
I'd be at home like, oh my god, they think I'm a slut. How do I get them to think that I'm not? So it went on like more than just that word.
I always think that there's a lot of ways, and it sounds bad because I don't know why I was thinking about this, but like there's a lot of ways you can insult women without even getting to know them. I think maybe it's a bit of a commentary on society. So you walk into a room and you can be like, you slut, or what are you, moody because you're on your period, or like go in the kitchen and make a sandwich. Like you've got all these things you can say like straight up. Whereas with a guy, you actually have to get to know them before you can really like throw out insults. I feel like that's a bad thing, and words like that are just generally really degrading.
Yeah.
No, yeah, 100%. Does anybody else have anything to add there? Because
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
So I think, yeah, like if a girl sleeps around a lot, she's a slut. If she, doesn't want to have sex till marriage, she's pretentious. Like And I think it might exist for some males, but like it's no, like you don't call a guy who has heaps of sex a slut. You don't call a guy who doesn't
If
want to
he
have
did, his mates are gonna high five him.
for attention. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like that's yeah.
No, yeah,
It's a tricky
100%.
one.
And I think that I think that it's definitely we're definitely heading in the right direction. However, like we've still got a way to go, but I think we are moving in the right direction. I think society in general is slowly getting more and more comfortable with the fact of having women in its that women that exist that have that have a lot of sex, and with that, with people becoming more comfortable with it, we're getting there. You know, I don't think it's like I don't think we're going the wrong way. You know, I don't think we're slowly devolving into a place where we are gonna start like putting chastity belts on women again. You know, like
No, I think everyone agrees that we're like doing a hell of a lot better than we were 50, 100, 200 years ago. Like that's definitely,
Yeah.
we're definitely going
100%.
in the right direction.
And we've still got a way to go, but I think we are moving in the right direction.
That kind of moves into your point, your first point, Woke. Like in a progressive world, surely it's time to let go of the female gender focused word feminism. We've done so much good work already.
Yeah, and so this is kind of something that I have always thought about. Whenever someone mentions feminism, I'm always like, feminism doesn't. There's nothing about that word that attracts me to it. And it's literally just because it's so female focused. You know, that's where it stemmed from, and 100% rightly so. Because back when the feminist movement first started, it was 100% needed. You know, and it needed to be, when people mentioned it, you thought of the female gender. And it needed to be that because there was so many inequalities for women back then that needed to be righted before there was any kind of level playing field, that it needed to be feminine focused. So I have no problem with the word being that and traditionally having been that. But I feel like, and I wrote this in my my thing, that in today's progressive world, surely it's time for us to let go of the female gender focused word feminism, and call ourselves, or call the movement equalists or equalitists or something like that.
Egalitarians.
Just so that you can be inclusive, so that there's no barrier for men to feel like they're an accepted part of the community. There's no and it properly reflects what the movement is actually about, which obviously we read the definition of feminism, which was like gender equality, which is super important, and I think we definitely need to get there. And I think it would be really good because it would distance ourselves, because as with third wave feminists coming through, and there's a lot of, the water has been so muddied by people taking the name of feminist who are actually not feminists. They're like anti-men, you know, and they're more angry about it and fighting to get themselves and women into a better position, rather than being about, let's try to get the level playing field here. And it would distance the movement from that, and so I think it's something that needs to happen.
Yeah, well, in saying that, you know how there's like the Black Lives Matter movement, right? And then there's also the All Lives Matter movement. I don't agree with the whole All Lives Matter, and I don't agree with changing it to a word other than feminism for the same reason, like because there is still inequality, but it doesn't mean that any lives are more important than others. It means that they still matter, but it's just got that label. And feminism as a definition means like the equality of, like, economically, socially, of the genders. And same with the Black Lives Matter movement. It's like the equality of everyone, but because they previously and still are the gender that's behind, that's why it should be kept that way. That's my personal takeaway anyway.
Yeah, I totally get that. I was actually thinking that the whole time you're talking. It's very similar in terms of movements, and like nobody. Well, I don't think many people. Actually, that's probably not true. But we don't live in a society that's like super misogynistic and like a super patriarchal, misogynistic society. We're doing better than we ever have before, but we're probably not quite there in terms of media, in terms of leadership positions, in terms of political positions and that kind of thing. So maybe changing the word might feel like we're degrading from or taking away from the movement to
When you
get women
first
there.
asked the question about when I read the notes, or what is feminism, I instantly thought angry white women wearing no bras running around protesting. That was like okay. And then I'm like, I actually even know what feminism is. And then that's when I hit Google up and was like, oh shit. Like, and then I realized there's different waves of it. There's different types of it. There's the angry ones and the ones that are there just basically following along. And then, but like Erin said previously, the more you go back in history, I feel like I'm more relevant to back then and understand it more. Whereas Woke said now it's completely muddy and everybody's claiming, oh, it's, you know, feminism and oh, it's sexism at the same time. Like, I'm kind of lost as to what 100% it is. Am I one? Yes, to a degree with like certain facts, but yeah, like I wouldn't go and protest and swing my bra around and run nudie down the street to prove a point. You'd want to make a, you know, I don't know. Yeah, I think being educated on the fact and speaking to the right people are going to have a bigger impact than naked women running down the street trying to prove a point.
Yeah, and that's why I'm not necessarily for like abolishing the word. I think that there's always going to be a place to be like I'm a feminist. I'm someone that believes in the equality of all men and women. However, I think that we need to there is potentially a place to like rebrand going forward, or like to start a new movement where we can be like, all right, like there's feminism, but that is more and even though it says it's about equality of men and women, how many times have you seen feminists advocating for like men's rights or inequalities in the male gender? You know what I mean? And I think that there is issues on both sides that we're not equal in, and there needs to be work done across the board. So why not start a movement where it's more inclusive of everybody, rather than feminism, which does definitely, to me at least, to be a little bit more lopsided, especially these days.
There's in the US, you know, there is also a group of people, or like an organization who, you know, advocates for men's rights. They're called MRA, men's rights activists and stuff like that. And you know, I watched a movie on it called The Red Pill. Anyone out there hasn't watched it? It's really interesting.
Yeah.
It's basically about a feminist who you know, talks to people from the MRA and kind of like gets their whole kind of like view on it. And you know, she's at conferences where, you know, there are a lot of you know, there are a lot of feminists where they're, you know, like screaming like MRA, racist, fascist, anti-gay, and I'm like, wow, you know, like that's interesting. And I like, I agree with Woke. I don't think I think it, you know, feminism back then, you know, of course it should be called feminism because, you know, it was all about women. But I feel like now, you know, as I said, even though egalitarian and feminism as definitions, they're the exact same thing. I feel like by saying egalitarian, you're including both genders. And as Woke also said, you know, like, how many times have feminists actually fought for males issues, like, you know, what is it called, like the family court thing, etc. Because I just don't see that happening. And currently, people, I guess, like, you know, the third wave feminists, etc., like, they're kind of making up issues that aren't actual issues just to, you know, have something to fight for, have something to complain about. Because I mean, of course, I guess, you know, in some places there is some kind of wage gap. Here, not really. Like in Denmark at least, etc. And I don't believe there is one, you know, in the US, etc. And you know, so they make that up on, you know, the general statistics. And you know, there's stuff like the pink tax, if you guys have heard about that.
Yeah, is that the thing where it's like there's a tax on like female products and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's basically, if we take like a some kind of like, I guess, like one deodorant, another deodorant, like they're called the exact same thing, but one is for males and one is for women. And they are like, oh wait, the one for males are a lot more expensive than the one for women, etc. That's the pink tax, basically. Where, you know, if you look on the back of the deodorant, because of the female skin is so much more delicate, they need a lot more ingredients for the, you know, the female like women's deodorants, like in general, you know. So yeah,
Sorry, you
you
go.
No, you go. I was done.
I thought I
I'll be
could
right
be
back.
completely wrong, but I thought the pink tax was like the other way around. So like with I'll use razors as an example. Like it's the same product, but it's marketed different ways for men and women, but it's typically more expensive for women. I could be wrong, but I thought that's what the pink tax was, because like pink, like being associated with women, and like with deodorant and like hair care and all that sort of stuff, like it's often more expensive for the same product for women than it is for men, at least in Australia. Like it might be different in Denmark, but that's just
No,
what I
I've
see.
seen,
I mean, like
something
it
that
is
as well,
like
Erin.
it is. I like the thing is that what is it called? Like it is what you're saying, but the thing is that when you look, I don't like. I think for racers as well, because again, if you may use, I've never used a male's like razor in my life, but they're probably built differently, because again, a male's skin is so much more different compared to a woman's skin. It's the same. I think there was like a what was it, like a bicycle thing, like the red one, the unisex one was like for less money than the pink one, and that's because, you know, of course, when you're a kiddo and you're a girl, you most likely want the pink one, so it's from kind of a business standpoint. But generally, we're built so much differently, and I don't believe in the pink tax whatsoever. If you want to go out and you want to buy a male's razor, honestly, go for it. You know, and if you want to buy a, you know, male's deodorant and stuff like that, go for it. But the one for women are specifically made for a woman's skin.
Yeah, I'm talking about where it's the exact same product, but like it's marketed different. And I think the pink tax is also in regards to like tampons and pads that only women will need to buy, but there's a tax by the government that makes them more expensive than what the business is selling them for, to make money off of it.
Yeah, and I think what Sintemuzz's view is that, like, if you have the option, like, you don't have to buy necessarily a female razor, you can go and buy a male razor, and that they might be made differently, specifically to like tailor to women's fairer skin or something like that, but that so that she doesn't really mind the fact that there's differences in prices. However, when you're talking about like hygiene products, the fact that there's a tax on hygiene products is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life.
Diabolical.
And when I found out about that, I was genuinely what's the word? Flabbergasted. I was like, what? Are you kidding me? Like, is that actually a thing? And I couldn't believe it.
Well, I have like a question for everyone, like based around that. Do you think like things like pads and like tampons should be free, or do you think they should still have to be paid for? Because they are essential, I guess. But
I think they're definitely like, you know, they're the, I guess, like big brands for, you know, tampons and pads, etc. But I guess there could be some kind of like, if it's like a general brand. I have no idea what the brands are called in Australia, no idea. But you know, that also sell, you know, a lot of like food stuff, and like they just in general have like a lot of products all around. Like I think those should be free, because they're already, you know, making money off of like so many other things.
Yeah.
Because it's the general kind of like grocery stores like brand in a way. Because I think they should definitely be available for everyone, you know, to use.
I think my personal standpoint of this is that I think that there should be basic, because it deals with basic hygiene, and it's and there's also quite a lot of health risks that come with making sure that you guys do look after yourselves around your period and stuff like that. I think that it should be part of the medical profession. There should be some sort of access to female hygiene products through Medicare or something like that. However, I think if that was the case, there would still be paid ones as well. And I think that actually like 95% of women would probably still go down the paid option, because the ones that provided by the government, they're not going to be like bells and whistles. You know what I mean? They're going to be like basic, you know, the cheapest of the cheap, the ones
I
that
think
just
as long
do
as
the
it does
job.
the job.
Yeah.
No,
Mm.
100%.
As long
But
as it
then,
does the job, I don't think that women are going to necessarily pay for it because it is a bigger brand. They all do the same thing.
yeah, but there's definitely something to be said. Okay, I'm not a woman, so please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. In terms of comfort, in terms of
You're uncomfortable regardless.
yeah,
Very
right.
true.
Regardless,
Quick speed
and I
trying this
honestly
out.
just think that, without sounding like an asshole, I think you're wrong. I think that if there was a free option, I'm going for the free option because it's not going to matter because it's for the 2 days or the week. That chick is just uncomfortable. If I can save that money from buying tampons or pads or whatever, I'm buying ice cream with it to be sad about how uncomfortable I already am. So it's I just wouldn't buy.
Yeah.
For like the most part, it so I mean even things like water we have to pay for, but they're very heavily regulated by the government, so I wouldn't have a problem with that. Like you have a certain
toilet
brand.
paper is extremely expensive, and males and female, like everybody needs toilet paper.
That's true.
And that's when I'm like, give me the 3-ply. I don't like to scratch my butt.
Yeah.
I think the difference is that and someone did at me then and just said, what about toilet paper woke in the chat? And the difference is that it's something that everybody needs. All right. So like where it's like every single person in the whole world is going to need toilet paper. Therefore, I kind of understand everybody's in the same boat. But this is a situation where women have something that they can't change about their bodies. You know, this happens to them. And it's not something that they chose to have happen to them. So why should they have a vastly, a way more huger cost just because of how they were born?
I think in general, like, I didn't even know like that hygiene things were taxed, etc. I had no idea, but I think, you know, them doing that is incredibly wrong, you know?
Mm-hmm.
100%.
Yeah.
Like taking advantage of the fact that girls need.
Give us a rebate on them. Give us a rebate or give us something.
Well, it should be similar to like drugs, you know, like if you're born a diabetic, that's not your own fault. And I know like different countries have different policies on this, but in Australia, all of that stuff is subsidized by the government, and you shouldn't have to die from having diabetes.
I think that it doesn't necessarily need to be completely free, but like some sort of subsidy or something, you know, just a little bit of something. Give them something, you know?
Yeah, do you guys have free healthcare?
Yeah. Basically, yeah.
Basically,
yeah.
Ours is never as good as yours, but we're getting there. Maybe.
It's better than a lot of other countries.
Well, it's better than America.
Like I'm just thinking, you know, like in the US, etc. Like one thing is their wages and stuff like that, but another thing is like if you like break a bone or, you know, if you're diabetic, etc. Like how are you gonna treat yourself if you were born into a, you know, poor family where and in a country where the social mobility is so horrible that you probably will stay poor the rest of your life? Like how, you know, I don't know. I just very much disagree with how the with the US like kind of welfare or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. The US
definitely.
they've got some issues that they definitely need to deal with.
For sure.
I saw you were kind of trying to say something before, but you kind of
I don't think women should have to pay for any sort of like things like the tampon pads. But I'm not sure about this. But last year, didn't they pass something about the tax thing? They used to have to pay tax on tampons and pads, and they took it away.
I think it was proposed, but like it's still in
but
I could be wrong, but yeah, that's what I believe.
I don't think that they should have to pay because it's just like common. I think it should just be they can't help it. It's not a good thing. Like they don't choose to put in a tampon or use a pad, and the way that I've heard some senators talk about it and like talk about like, oh, well, they don't have to use them. Like that's crap. Like I have not met
100%
lady that's like, oh, I just don't use anything. Like
no,
I'm like the people who say that, like that must have been a male senator, honestly, because you know every single woman is like, listen, if I don't have a pad, if I don't have a tampon, like I guess you know I'm not leaving my house today. I guess I'm just gonna sit and bleed. You feel me?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think it's funny. I don't know if you guys kind of want to move on that, like the healthcare thing kind of relates to abortion, which I'm like interested to, to see your opinions on that in regards to like healthcare as well.
Yeah, so in terms of abortion, there was I recently actually there was those laws. I'm sure being women, actually I'm not sure, you might not have, but there was like a
Stop subjugating our women to things. You bloody sexist. Woke is sexist, guys. Woke is sexist.
Yeah, woke sexist.
You heard it here first, guys. In America, there was some laws changed in countries that made it illegal to abort a child.
Yeah, that was
and
Alabama.
in those
wasn't it?
things, and in those states, it's like there's like the death penalty there was like the death penalty potentially for it.
What?
Or something? Yeah, so that it was like in a state where they had the death penalty, and and it was like they made it a severe enough crime that there was the potential, not saying that this would ever happen, for that someone that was found guilty of murdering their child through abortion would get the death penalty and be put to death.
Well, I think the same as like prostitution, even if you make it illegal, it's still gonna happen. Like, but yeah, it's like a very obviously like very emotional thing and like very personal thing to go through an abortion. But yeah,
I mean, like to me, it's kind of like, I mean, I'm pro-choice, like 100%, etc. Because I have known a person who got pregnant at 15 years old, very young, but for her, unfortunately, she found out about it like too late. But in case that she found out about it earlier, 100%, like she would probably get an abortion, etc. Because I just don't think that you should be forced to be put through pregnancy and to give birth, especially at such an early age.
So did she have her baby then?
She did. It was too late. Oh, okay. But it was like given away like right after it was born to another family, because like she was 16 when she gave birth to it. So yeah.
How is she now? Like, has it had a bit of an effect on her, do you think?
I don't talk. It was like my friend's older sister. But I don't talk to my friend anymore. Like, I think she's doing fine now, but I think it's gonna be interesting, like, if it was a girl, when the girl grows up and she turns 18, if she decides to like search up her biological mother. That's gonna be interesting. But I have no idea how she's doing today and like how it's affecting her.
Yeah, I have a bit of a weird. This is one of those issues that I'm like right down the line on, because in my head I'm 100% like pro-life. Like, I want every child that is conceived to be born and have the chance to live like a healthy life. But then at the same time, I believe in a woman's body, it's her right to choose kind of thing. And it just it's like so conflicting in my mind, because like and I'm thankful that I've never had to be in that situation to make that decision, or have to make that choice, because I think it would be impossible. Because if I'm not in that position and I'm already struggling to come to grips with it, like, imagine actually having to go through that. And I think that people trying to put kind of rules and regulations on this kind of thing, and I think that everybody should just step back and just be like, look, you do what you need to do. You make the decision for you and whatever's going on there. Yeah, that's my kind of take on it. Just step back and just be like, you make the decision, rather than like getting involved.
I'm different.
Yeah.
I'm like, I think of it a kind of different. So I like the whole allowing choice. Like, it's all up to the person. And for me, it's like thinking along the lines of what quality of life will the child have, and along those lines, as in, like, I've got my cousin was 16, and I think she already had 2 children. And I, from an outside point of view, seeing them grow up, believe that they've had a poorer childhood because of what they were born into, compared to if the mum had it later on in her life. So to have that option, she obviously did have the option and she decided to go that way. But like for someone that could have been sexually assaulted and stuff like that in the American case where like she couldn't get an abortion or she gets like jailed and blah, blah, blah. I think that's like, for me, I can't even comprehend that. That would be crazy and you would probably go further, do other things.
I think as adults we have to be responsible. Like if we're going to be sexually active, we need to be responsible. And if we,
for sure.
if we don't want, like, so my older sister, I don't actually speak with her anymore. Her life choices I don't agree with. She was somebody that I would look at, and by the age of 26, she had 7 abortions. So in my head, I'm thinking it's not okay. It's not okay for her to just have that option to go out and sleep with whoever, do whatever she wants, and go, it's fine, I can get an abortion. I'll make the guy pay for it because he was involved in it. Whereas I'm like, if you're going to be sexually active, there is so much contraception out there. Use it. You want to be 16, 14, 20, 30, not ready to have kids, use contraception. Abortion is there for the right reasons, I believe. I think that it should be our choice, but don't abuse it.
Agreed. Like abortion shouldn't be used as a contraception, whatsoever, 100%. And I also, believe that, there should also be like a limit, like here it's, the 12 weeks afterwards. It's basically impossible unless, it puts them, like the mom in danger, to get an abortion. Like then you just have to kind of go through with it. Where there, also people who believe that even when, inside, the mom's stomach or whatever, like it basically looks like a baby and, you're at your, I don't know, 7th month, that abortion still should be legal. Like I definitely disagree with that.
There's obviously like the different types of reasons for abortion. There's what it's like medically. You can in Australia. I was reading an article. I can't remember.
So if a woman's like in danger, basically, medically, or if they've been sexually assaulted.
Yeah, basically, it was like if there's like a health risk for the mother, then there was no.
There's a test that can be done. I think it's at 20 weeks or 24 weeks or something like that. A test can be done to see whether or not that child is going to be born with a disability. And if the test comes back positive, the parents have the right to choose whether or not they want to abort. But if you look at pictures of a fetus at 24 weeks, that is a person.
Yeah, one of my friends had a baby at 26 weeks and he's fine.
Yeah. I have a friend that had a baby at 25 weeks, which was crazy. But like, I get that the decision's there, but they need to figure out how. I don't know, like 24 weeks. That's kind of scary.
I'm like, I feel like to me, it depends on the disability. Like, is it being in a wheelchair, because that's still that's still a good quality of life. You're still capable, etc. Where you have seen cases where it's like they can't speak, they can't like move, they can't all these things. Like that's where I'm kind of like, is that a life worth living in a way? But that's completely subjective.
Get it wrong. Like I've seen cases where they're like, your baby's going to be born deformed and they're not going to live a couple of hours out of the womb, and the child's 9 running around living full quality of life. So like I don't even know, like that would be scary to think, radio, should I abort or not? Going with the decision, no, I'm not going to abort. And they've still got a great quality of life because the medical profession's got that case wrong. They just got it wrong. It's simple like that.
My mate was told, his parents were told that he was going to be Down syndrome because of the ratio of forehead compared to the eyes or something along the lines of that. And he's not, but
he's got a big forehead.
It's funny you say that because I was
they were told, you're going to have a Down syndrome child.
Then you've got
my parents were told the same, but like you? I just have a massive fucking forehead. Like
your forehead's not that big.
Dude.
I feel like everyone thinks they have a big forehead, but nobody actually has a big forehead.
I hate my forehead, but that's.
Look at this shiny.
I mean, I know some people that
Yeah.
got big
Yeah,
foreheads.
the thing is, I can only
You
fit
guys are
3 fingers
fine.
on mine.
That's actually why I wear a hat. My forehead like starts
for
up here.
Sure.
Yeah,
Dude,
I'm a solid
5.
4.
I'm safe.
I'm about 2 ends.
I'm a 2, guys. No, I'm a 1. I'm 1.
2.
I'm just 1.
Oh, okay. He's got a hat.
But going back to what Erin said at the very beginning, I like that because at the very least, you make having an abortion illegal, and we see what used to happen years ago before they were legal, and you turn to ways that are really dangerous for everyone involved.
Yeah.
So at the I feel I have different like moral standpoint to it and like legislative standpoint, because I feel like legislatively the government shouldn't prescribe our morals, so having the option there for all women is beneficial in terms of like in terms of health. But I would like to ask why and I don't know, we're kind of not on the feminist topic, but I wonder with everyone who's pro-choice, I would like to ask where the is there a line, and why do you define that as the line of life, basically? If you know what I mean.
Well, should we go around and say who is and isn't, just so we know?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, so I'm definitely pro-choice.
Wait, you said you were 100% pro-life before.
You said pro-life earlier.
No. So what I said was, it's one of those things that I like really struggle to come to grips with, because I really love the idea of being pro-life, of every single child that it has been conceived having a chance at having a life, because there are some people that potentially they might have been slated to have really bad problems, but have still had amazing, incredible lives. And if they had been aborted and not given the chance, then they obviously weren't given the chance. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I'm definitely pro-choice. I'm definitely step back. I don't know. I've never been in that situation. I'm 100% okay with you guys choosing. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's
I
hard.
don't
It's
think
hard.
we have anyone pro-life.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I'm pro-choice.
I'm pro-choice in like, in like, I don't think, like you were saying with, I think it was your sister Licky, like just having an abortion as a form of contraception, like that's just disgusting to me. I think it should be available to people who need it, like where it is a life or death situation, and it shouldn't be just like, oh, just having an abortion, like. But it's like I don't. Because it's a child. Like it's insane to me. Like how you can. Like I personally just couldn't do it. Like if it was my own mistake, then I could never have an abortion. Like if it was because if I was going to die or the child was going to die, or if it was going to have a poor quality of life, then be a different situation. But because a lot of people who
the circumstances matter.
Yeah, a lot of people who are pro-life will say, but like if it was a situation where they would die, well, I think that makes them pro-choice personally. But I don't think, because I think a lot of like the misconceptions about feminism is that they want women to just be able to have it because they can and because it's the right to. But I don't think that's what a lot of people, like a lot of like feminists believe. Like I think it's like they want it to be a right for when it's needed.
I think it would have to be a discussion. Like, say I fell pregnant, I don't think that I would make the choice myself. Even if I was like, I'm going to have an abortion, I would need to discuss it with my partner. I don't think it's like, I understand that it's my body and that it does come down to what I think, but I think that his opinion is going to count. His opinion does matter, and having the discussion about it, not just like freaking out and going, but it's my body and I'm going to have the abortion. I think that the male should definitely be included in that decision regardless.
I've had the talk with my missus about it, if it ever did happen. And we were like pretty much on the same wavelength that, say it happened right now, it would probably result in an abortion, just for the fact that we've both got 1 year left of a uni degree. It means she wouldn't be able to go on internship. She wouldn't be able to
But it means you guys would have to be more cautious now. Yeah, like you're fully aware that you do not want this situation to arise right now, so you're taking precautions to try to make sure that it doesn't.
We don't use. I mean, we do use contraception every time. Like I don't take any. I
every
don't want any of that.
You're more cautious.
I'm good.
Yeah. I think the people who are
Really?
hardcore pro-life need to be way more about being supportive of education around contraception and programs adoption programs and counseling programs and stuff like
I
that.
think it's great for them. Go pro-life for yourself. You've got yourself covered. Go away from me. Like, I don't need you yelling at me and carrying on like it's not going to change my decision. You can show me all of your pictures. You can point the finger, tell me how horrible murderer, but go deal with your own life and figure your own shit out. I don't need you screaming stuff at me.
Yeah, no, 100%.
For
so
sure.
back to Fresh's kind of question. Do you guys have? Is there being pro-choice? Do you have like a limit? Like, because this is the big thing with the abortion debate. Is when is it a life? And there's some people that say a year, 2 weeks after childbirth. You know, there's some people that say at childbirth when it's born. There's some people that say at 20 weeks when it looks like a baby. You know, there's some people that say at conception.
I think if it's still forming, if it isn't, I understand they're not completely baked for like weeks, 38 weeks, 40 weeks, but if it's still forming and like, I think that Australian laws at the moment, I think are around about 12 weeks. You have to have an abortion before that period. You have to make your decision. I'm comfortable with that. I'm also kind of comfortable with the fact that you get to have the test several weeks after that to check if the child's going to be disabled or not, and make a decision from there whether or not to abort. I'm comfortable with how our laws are at the moment. In saying that, I've got no idea what size, like what ratio a 12-week-old baby would look like. But I'm assuming that the scientists have a great idea and that they're not actually, they're not leading me astray too much.
Yeah, so I think that the 12-week thing is like when the doctors can be fairly certain that you've gotten past like any real complications with the childbirth in terms of like will it develop to like
about 30%
about
30% of pregnancies will have like a natural termination before 12 weeks, basically. So it's pretty early.
Like that.
Yeah.
So that's why there's that 12-week rule of like most people don't share that they're pregnant until after that 12-week mark. Because it's its stamp of approval.
What's hard with the 12 weeks is sometimes people don't realize they're pregnant until after then.
Yeah. They've been drinking.
That's like specific situations, but it happens pretty,
a friend of mine
pretty
works
often.
And I said, what's the craziest thing that's ever happened? And she said a 15-year-old girl came in with appendicitis and she was waiting on the doctor and walked out with a baby in her arms, still attached, and her mother was like, what the fuck have you done?
Oh, wow.
Like, I didn't know. And I said to her, did she look like she was pregnant when she came in? She said, nope, little skinny girl, couldn't tell. Like, you're kind of screwed if your baby's coming out at 9 months and you had no idea.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, for sure. Like there are definitely, those cases, but I also feel like I don't know, like there is that one girl, the girl I talked about where it was, I don't know how much, past the 12 months. And they called, every single clinic, etc. Like, hey, can you perform an abortion? And they just, they everyone said no. And I would absolutely hate to be in that situation, but also see that, the whole kind of like 12-week thing, like there has to be a limit in a way. So, the scientists or whatever have concluded, okay, at 12 weeks, afterwards it starts to look like an actual baby.
Yeah, I'm down for that. I'm down for like someone in the medical profession or whatever to be like, okay, this is where it like I don't know. I think I kind of like differ. I think maybe I'm of the thought that if that baby can be born and potentially survive without the mother, then it's not okay for it to be aborted. Because then it gets to this point, and I think I think there's I don't know the youngest that a baby's ever been born, but I remember that it's like extremely young, like that you would think that it probably wouldn't be able to survive outside of the womb, but that they did an induced childbirth because of some reason or another, and the child was managed to be brought to like full term and development, or like and survived without the mother's thing, and it was actually way younger than you would think. And I think that if that baby can be born and that mother is like, I want to abort it, then I think that the mother doesn't have a choice to kill that baby once it can potentially survive without.
Yeah, I've had like this conversation with my parents, and they're both very Christian, and they've both said as soon as their viewpoint is as soon as the egg and the sperm do their thing, it's a life. It's not a child, but it's a life.
Yep, that.
Yeah, right.
Well, hold on, you're muted, Erin.
Erin,
what's up?
Muted.
You're muted.
Sorry, forgot about push talk. They believe it's a life. It's not a child, but it's a life, and it shouldn't be, like taken away.
My mum's like that. My mum's like no to abortions. She only had 4 kids, thank gosh. My mum's mum is one of my mum is one of 18 children.
Oh my god.
A lot. But back in the day, they didn't have the choice of
No to abortions.
It was backyard abortion.
Yeah, exactly.
And stuff like that. So, I mean, would you prefer to have a child and adopt it out, or go through absolute hell back then? Like, I'd be having the baby.
Personally, I'm pro-life because I think similar to what you're saying with I think the most consistent way we can define where life starts is when that new DNA is formed, and I'm personally against taking life. So I find it like it's really important for me to be morally consistent across all areas of my life. I wouldn't take a 3-year-old's life. I feel like I shouldn't take a fetus's life either. That's why I'm a bloody vegetarian, which really sucks now. But like I said before, I'm against like legislating against it, because at the very least, if someone wants to have an abortion, they're going to do it in some way. Like I see problems with the arguments about if it can live outside of the womb, because there's a lot of babies that are born that can't live outside the womb. So and different countries would have to prescribe different personhood at different like dates, I guess, because like we can have a baby survive in Australia pretty well, but I don't know, in a developing country, it would be
developing country.
Yeah, it'd be different. And I wouldn't like to say that life should be different if you're born in different areas of the world. So I find that the most consistent way to say this is where life starts is here when you create this DNA.
I suppose that kind of speaks to my point of view a little bit there as well, Fresh. That I am pro-life, but at the same time I'm pro-choice.
Yeah, I think you can be.
Situation though.
Yeah, I think you can be like morally different. Sorry, what was that?
How would you feel about that if it was a rape baby?
Oh yeah, no, that's different, and like
that's a terrible word, but like that's
but I mean, there's also, I mean, I wouldn't want to force someone to live through the trauma of carrying a rape baby, which is why legislatively again I'm pro-choice. But
understand that the choices have to be made whether they're hard.
Yeah. I've also met, it's hard to decide though before someone's alive, because I've met people who are like inspirational, beautiful people who have been rape babies, and they've got an amazing life, and they've helped like hundreds and hundreds of people. So it's hard for me to then say you should kill all rape babies as well.
I definitely, I think where it's, I think in general it's kind of like it's like if we look at it just like overall, like you can give birth to a baby, and if you can't take care of it, you can give it to someone who is able to take care of it. So no matter the circumstances, that baby can live out a great life, etc. But I think when you're the person carrying the baby, you have to look at it in a very different way, because like personally, like I don't even know if I like want to have a child whatsoever. I mean, I'm only 18. I don't even have to think about that yet, but just like those 9 months, like I don't know, just hearing about, seeing it, etc., like it just sounds horrible, and I don't feel like anyone,
Oh yeah.
like I don't feel like you can, before those 12 weeks, personally, I don't feel like you can force anyone to carry that baby. Like that's just how I personally feel. But in like if we're talking like kind of a moral aspect with the whole like life thing and giving everyone the chance to live out their lives 100%, like you should give birth to every baby. But when you're talking about a kind of like individual who feels a certain way, I also feel like that should be respected.
Yeah.
It's not an easy choice regardless. It should not,
No.
well, I mean, to a majority of women, it's not an easy choice regardless.
Yeah.
I'm in my 30s and I don't want kids at all. So I know, like, to take cautions, like, because the last thing I want to do is end up in a clinic going, I'm here for an abortion. Like, that would be heartbreaking and horrible on its own, but I make sure that I'm not going to put myself in that position either.
Yeah.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
I've got a bit of an interesting conversation around the abortion topic. It's not quite on the abortion topic. Since we're talking about feminism and the equality of the male and female
We've only got 8 minutes, by the way, before we hit 2 hours.
Yes, that's cool. I just wanted to talk a little bit about quite a lot of people, and I've seen it in the chat a couple of times, say, all right, so like abortion, no right. The male of that relationship, or the male that conceived it, has no right to have a say in the choice of the woman because it is her body and it affects her way, way more than it affects him. But then at the same time, the laws in Australia at the moment, in terms of like child support and stuff like that, are very much that if a child is born, you're named the father, you are the father, like DNA test or whatever like that, then you have a responsibility to provide child support and reparations to the mother and whatever for a certain amount of time or whatever. Therefore, and my take on it is that an abortion or a non-abortion, a choice to not abort a child, actually has impact on the male. Maybe not as much, but it does have some sort of impact on the male. And what do you guys think about that? Should
If he's like, no, I'm not ready to have this child, and she's like, I'm having this baby with or without you, has the baby, and now he's suddenly responsible for it. That's why I think that there should be the open discussion. I know that there's plenty of women that would use it against men, which does not sit well with me. I do not think that it's right. And that's why I think that the man should be involved in the decision, whether it's that they have to sign a piece of paper to agree to abort the baby, or I don't know, just they need to have that discussion, because I don't think that it's fair for the man at all to have to turn around for 18 years and pay child support, or however long it is, even though his decision was, I want to abort the baby. Or if it's vice versa, if she aborts the baby and he's like, I was totally ready to be a single dad. Yeah, it's a bit tricky.
Yeah, I guess like in response to that, like when you have sex, like 99% of people know that a baby can come from that. And like
I don't know if that's 99%. I feel like
okay, for like people, we'll say over the age of 18, you'd hope.
No, I don't think so. I think that there needs to be way more education around it.
I think it's way less. But anyway, let her finish your point.
But yeah, sorry.
We'll say the majority.
Yeah, that's cool.
Of men would know that like a baby can come from sex.
Yes.
And yeah, I think it is again like case by case type thing, or I would believe anyway. But yeah, if the I'm like on the fence. Like if the male is not going to be there, like, and the woman knows that, I don't know where I'm going with this, but yeah.
I actually have a very good story about this. So my brother, who's 40, he's a half brother, got a text message, and it was a photo of the baby, like the ultrasound, and she used the sperm and eggs without him knowing. Wasn't legal, and she got pregnant, and sent him a photo and said, "Oh, just to let you know, blah blah blah." She didn't go on the lines of like, "You have to help me out now." She was the other option.
How did she get his sperm?
They froze it beforehand, so they were going out for like 6 years, 7 years.
Oh gosh, that's hectic.
Wow.
Got it while he was asleep.
And so, sorry, what did she do? She said, like, you have to support this?
No, she was the opposite. She said, "Do you want to be a part of it?" Blah blah blah. And I was actually on schoolies when this happened, and he told me, and he was like taken back by it, and he was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. He decided he decided he wanted to be a part of it, and now it's like his whole life, like really happy. He never got with her, and that was like one thing he made really clear, that like
completely blindsided. I have your sperm, and now I'm impregnated.
But you saying he never got with her as in they never had sex? Is that what you said?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, like he's not with her now. Like,
oh man,
like they're not together.
Okay.
He made it pretty
like
obvious
they froze
that he
this.
didn't want that like relationship that they did have.
That's hectic.
He was entitled to that discussion though. Like, I have your frozen sperm. Is it okay if I use it?
I've had this discussion with a couple of people before, and my kind of like general take on it is that because I do believe that it's your body, and I think it should be your right first and foremost as a woman to make that decision on, because it has there's a greater health impact. Like the financial impact to the guys, it's definitely, it could be taxing, you know, but it's not as much as the physical impact that it can have on a female's body and the interruption of her life and stuff like that. Therefore, I totally am for the woman's right to choose. However, I think there should be a choice for the man as well. It should be and then the woman can make a more informed decision, being like, okay, so I can choose to have this baby. However, the guy that is the father has said that he does not want the baby. Therefore, if I have it, I cannot 100% count on him supporting this baby. But so then the woman can make a more informed decision about what her life's going to be like. You know, like if she talks to the guy, and the guy's like, actually, I'm down for this baby. Like, it's your choice, it's your right to choose, but I'm here to support it.
Situation together, and I think that having the open discussion, like where the one's like yes and the other's like no, putting out the pros and cons can definitely persuade somebody or sway somebody away from you know, it can change people's minds. So I think that sitting down and having that discussion will help you both make the decision together. Well, you'd hope so.
Yeah, unless they're crazy.
Should definitely be included.
Don't free sperm with a crazy person. We should get what Sinte had to say and then wrap up.
Yeah.
I think it's a very different situation compared to like if we say like if the guy, you know, wanted her to have an abortion, or if the guy wanted her to keep the baby. It's like of course you should have that kind of discussion, but I feel like I don't know, for some reason I feel like it's a much different situation if this guy really wants the baby and the woman does not, because again it's still this entire, of course abortions are very like for also like the mental and physical health etc is also very serious, but carrying a baby that you essentially do not want, I feel like that's a lot different in a way. But you'd hope that between the two people you could come to a kind of conclusion in a way, or like find the middle ground.
And I'm not saying that the man should have like the say over that and be like, well, I want you to keep the baby. I think that it should definitely be the woman's right to choose, but that the man should have the choice to opt in to support the child or opt out of supporting the child. But at the moment,
the end of the day,
like it's a bit hectic though.
Woman's decision.
Does it get a bit hectic?
Because
because what I'm saying is that you've got right now in Australia, and I'm all leaning from this feminism topic that we're talking about, the equality, all right, which is what we're going for here.
Yeah.
You have in this situation, everybody always talks about the female side of things, is a woman's right to choose, all right?
Yeah.
But there's no discussion of the fact that that woman is not only deciding for her, she's also deciding for the man. He doesn't have a say at the moment. He has no say, even though he is 50% responsible for the conception of that child.
Yeah, except he has a say in like, I feel like if you feel like you're mature enough to have sex and not do it with contraception or like whatever, like you then have a responsibility, even if the girl, like it's on her to choose to have the baby.
For a reason.
Yeah.
To pay attention, like if you're not well educated on it, you shouldn't be having sex.
So if you've created a baby, I feel like it's your responsibility to then make sure that baby has a decent life.
Yes, but then at the same time, if you apply that logic to the abortion topic, it doesn't fly. People are always like, no, you're not allowed to say a woman has a right to choose.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
and
I'm,
so
maybe I'm
what
not
I'm
the same
saying,
person.
I'm talking from that feminism equality thing where it's like what you're doing is you're saying you're setting one standard for a woman in this scenario, and then but then if you try to apply that standard to the male in the scenario, the instant takeaway is, oh no, you made that decision when you decided to have sex.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm of the opinion for both, I guess. I'm like,
no, yeah, I know, but I know you're being morally consistent, and yes, but there's a lot of people that are not moral.
Okay.
And they say, and they are not, they would never apply that argument to the woman. They would never say, like you've said, you're pro-life, you know, they would never say, oh, well, she made the choice to have sex, but they always say it with the man in that situation. I think that to create equality in this scenario, I think that the male should have a choice whether or not to opt in to support the child or not. And if he opts out, it doesn't mean necessarily that he can't support the child if he wants to. But it's just saying to that woman who's making that decision, hey, like make the decision, but just so you know, if you do choose to keep this child, I'm going to be there to support it, or I'm not.
Sense.
And I think that should be in legislation as well, because
I
it's not at the moment,
agree.
and men are forced to support every single child that a woman decides to keep.
All right, well, guys, spirited, robust discussion. I feel like we should individually sign off, and we're at hit the 2-hour mark. It's been lovely to have you all talking about feminism. I feel like we hit most of our main topics and hit heaps along the way. Shall we start? Who do we introduce? Sinte, we introduce you first. Would you like to shout out your channel? Tell us where you're from. When do you stream? What's going on with you?
Well, as you can see, I'm called Sintemuzz on Twitch, and as I said in the beginning, I stream just chatting and Minecraft, where I have my little kind of thing going on. Every now and then I switch it up with like a music stream or some League of Legends and stuff like that. But that's like those two categories are mainly what I stream. I try to stream 3 to 4 times a week right now, but I don't really have a set schedule because right now I guess if we're talking American school system, whatever, I'd be a senior in high school, and therefore it depends a lot of time. Like when do I have time throughout the week? And yeah, I think that's really about it. I'm from Denmark, and
cool.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Greavesy.
Yeah, I stream whenever I have time, really. Just like play shooter games like COD and Fortnite. So that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Erin?
I'm the black sheep here. I don't stream, but I'm doing design at the moment. I'm using Instagram a lot. I use it for my design work. That's about it.
Awesome. And yeah, Licky.
So I am a streamer, but I haven't streamed in a while. I plan on making a comeback very soon. But I'm constantly lurking in everybody's streams. So you can find me in Works and in Freshers. I'm always about. Yeah, hoping to make a comeback soon though.
Awesome.
Good. And Woke?
And obviously I'm Mr. Woke TV. You can catch me TV on Twitch. I play quite a bit of Fortnite, but I'm probably going to be getting into some new games soon. I keep meaning to go to the shops and pick up Borderlands, but I just haven't got around to it yet. Destiny's coming out soon, which I'm super keen for. But yeah, feel free to head over to my channel. I'll probably be streaming after this some cheeky Fortnite. So yeah, come over and say hi. Maybe we'll have some shenanigans together.
Nice.
That was so cute.
Hey, and you're on.
I am quite cute. What can I say?
Oh my gosh! All right, nobody go to his channel. No, just
and Fresh. What about you, mate?
Yeah, you're on my channel. twitch.tv/FreshPlaysLive. You can find the podcast offline. Literally, just search the Freshly Awoken podcast on like any podcast platform, Apple, Google, Spotify, and you'll find it there. So feel free to hit that up. I'm doing charity stuff until the end of the month. Stream for Starlight. We're gonna hit, if we hit 1,000, then I'm gonna do another Twitch Sings stream. So please, everyone,
oh my God, please, yes,
hit the 1,000.
That was the best thing I ever seen.
Yes,
I've contributed.
Yeah, good. Contribute, everyone. Maybe Sinte will sing a duet with me. Sinte, record a duet.
Oh, hell
Twitch
yeah,
sings
dude.
it. Twitch sings it.
If it happens, I'll 100% record.
Yes, do it,
I
Work.
meant to last
Yes.
time, but I didn't.
Yeah,
I
record
have
a
the voice of
duet.
an angel.
Yeah, but thanks so much, chat, everyone, for being here. We do this every second Sunday, and we'll see you in all of our streams
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having me.
Bye-bye.